It's my pleasure to be here. Can you hear me okay? Each of the speakers this evening have already said everything I had written to say. And so, as is always the case when you're the last one to speak, if you're wise, you'll move away from your notes as much as possible. Try to tie it together and infuse that which is different. I don't have any videotape for you. What I wanted to say to you, though, is that my experience with Tzu Chi goes back to 2005, working after Katrina and witnessing what Tzu Chi's kindness and caring and blind spot for color and ethnic differences was demonstrated in such a powerful way. I saw that firsthand. And as a seminarian who was also a physician, I was duly impressed with it. So 5 years later, when the earthquake occurred in Haiti, I didn't have any idea that Tzu Chi was already there. I went a week after the earthquake, and I was busy doing work at the General Hospital, and I saw some behaviors that troubled me that I thought back to 2005, and I said, my goodness, if they just had the Tzu Chi spirit.
Yes.
And so I called Commissioner Boudreau. And by the way, I've been there for 3 years now. 85% of my time is spent in Port-au-Prince. And I'm the international consultant for the General Hospital and the Ministry of Health. And I also work on a major project in the establishment of a community college in Cabaret. And, but when I called Deborah, I said, I really think Tzu Chi belongs here. They really need you in Haiti, and I don't need to tell you. She said, we're already there. Over the course of some time, I was also invited to go to Taiwan, and I had an opportunity to visit with, have lunch with, Master Chen Yin. Chen Yin. She's a sacred, sacred woman in my heart, and wow, what a powerful role model for all of us she is. But what I learned from my Tzu Chi experience, infusing that with my clinical experience as a physician and an activist, I'm a social scientist, I'm in Kenya after the American Embassy bombing, Sri Lanka after the tsunami, Louisiana after the flood, Haiti. What I learned was that if we don't find a way to get to the lowest common denominator of sustainable change, we are only putting a bandage on the problem. Now, Commissioner Logo spoke to these facts beautifully when she talked about the importance of changing the curriculums, looking at education, early childhood, not just for girls, but for boys as well. And I want to add to that for parents and for teachers and for institutional centers that write books, publish books, educational books, and the pedagogy, the style in which we teach. If we are not culturally competent and culturally sensitive in an anthropologic way, it cannot be the United States dominant culture defining what cultural competency is. It must be cultural competency coming from the various regions where we apply our efforts. And in Haiti, we saw this unfold. And now I finally get into my experience in Haiti with Tzu Chi. What Tzu Chi did was help me to formulate a concept that not only educated the administrators, but it educated physicians, nurses, and volunteers at the General Hospital in Port-au-Prince with a whole different model for exercising clinical care. That didn't come overnight. What it required was the patience of building relationships, coming in with humility, establishing trust, and putting your money where your mouth is. Now, Zucchi has the resources, but more importantly, they've got the right philosophy. Coming from a place of kindness and caring, and a commitment not only to talk about it, but to demonstrate it. To witness the Zucchi community in Haiti give to the poorest people in a way that said, not only do we care, but we consider ourselves privileged to be able to be here to serve you. We are not even worthy enough to look in your eyes because you have suffered where we have not. And so to witness them going into the camps and taking that which they constructed from recycling, blankets, tarps, and other personal care items, beautifully packaged, not thrown out of the back of an airplane, not that that isn't necessary sometimes, but to take these items from people who were clean. You notice the Zucchi people are always very clean. Yes. And I don't have my uniform on and I feel bad. I brought it but didn't wear it. And they come dressed in their best and they go to the people who suffer the most and they bring these love gifts with humility and with sincerity. And the people who are on the receiving end, their minds are blown. They cannot believe that something like this is happening to and for them. Now, I talk about the anthropologic nuances because it's important. Cultural competency must take into account the geopolitics, the social science, the economics, the history. You already know how seriously poor and how recurrent the poverty has been in Haiti. The poorest nation not only in the Western Hemisphere, but globally. It's in competition with Sierra Leone. And Sierra Leone is not even a close second. And the NGOs that run Haiti, where the people don't feel a sense of empowerment. And so to see a group come in and offer help, offer services, even claim to build the school and to teach faculty and staff, nurses and doctors and administrators, to rub elbows with politicians, that does not come without an understanding of the nuance of Haiti. That means that people are in a state of constant despair. It's better now. It is much better now over the course of 3 years. But the better now did not come by accident. It required people with the Zucchi spirit who came in with their egos in their back pocket, if it's even there. If it's even there. And they came understanding that these are people who need to be built up. As the expression goes, give a man a fish or teach a man to fish. Zucchi understood that in many instances it's neither. It's give him a fishing pole and maybe a refresher course on something he or she already knows. And then encourage them with something they already know. Zucchi never went into Haiti showing off its greatness and all of the beautiful hospitals that it has all around the world. Although I got a chance to see it, and we had our doctors from the General Hospital, key members of the Ministry of Health go to see, not just to see the structures, but to witness the action of the Zucchi volunteers, the Zucchi doctors, the Zucchi nurses, in how they delivered that which they spoke of. So I want to say that on the issue of violence, achieving a sustainable impact on violence against girls who will one day become women, that solution does not occur in a vacuum. It must occur against the backdrop of early childhood education, for which there has been cultural competence, cultural sensitivity, anthropologic, historical awareness, and infusion of realities for that particular locality. The curriculum must be developed in a pedagogical way. That means a way in which the teaching is effective. How do people learn? Can you put up a PowerPoint presentation for the poor that has a lot of writing in it? You know, your photos go a long way, videos go a long way, but all of these elements that we sometimes take for granted because in our Occidental world or in our Western developed world where we have privilege and opportunity, we've grown so accustomed to offering what we have in one fixed way. Well, I want to say that what we have seen in Haiti is evidence of what can be duplicated in other regions of the world. So early education, not just for girls, not just for boys, not just for mothers and fathers and grandparents, but to teachers and to administrators and policymakers. They need education too. They need to know what it is that stands in the way of a young girl feeling good about herself and feeling capable. Sugar and spice and everything nice, yeah, it's cute, but sometimes it works against the process. Teaching a girl how to fall and pick herself back up. Helping her to understand that when someone says, God, you are really tough, she should not look at that as a put down. That if she is told she's sweet and she's lovely, that that is not the ultimate compliment. The ultimate compliment is you are that and you are awesome in navigating this, that, or the other thing. This struggle, that struggle. We are all women of different hues, of different ethnicities, but each of us knows that if women were running the world, we already know that if women were the peacemakers, we already know that there was a time that predates Jesus in which women were gods. Okay. And so we've got the chicken in the fox in the hen house. Some of them are friendly foxes. But we got a lot of foxes in the hen house telling us how to do this thing. And who we are going to having to rely upon them to rubber stamp what our innate brilliance, the gift that was given to us when we were conceived in our mother's womb. That innate brilliance stands firm, it is of highest integrity, and it has the greatest reliability for bringing about sustainable change. I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. I hope that helps.